Welcome to Family Law Talk, presented by Kirk Stange of Stange Law Firm, PC. Stange Law Firm is a family law firm in the St. Louis metro area with offices in Missouri and Illinois. Now, here's your host, Kirk Stange.
Welcome to Family Law Talk. My name is Kirk Stange, and I am one of the managing partners of Stange Law Firm, which is a family law firm with offices in Missouri and offices in Illinois throughout the St. Louis metro area. Well, welcome today. Welcome to today's topic on Family Law Talk with Stange Law Firm, which is Kansas sperm donor ordered to pay child support. This is a really interesting topic. It's been all over the news if you've been following it. It's just been everywhere. It's been front page news. It's been a big story. It's got a lot of press. It's got a lot of attention. And so today I want to take a little bit of time and just go through the basic facts of the case and the decision of it and just talk briefly about some of the ramifications of it. So we'll get to that in just a second. But before we delve into the topic itself, I should state, as I always do, that the choice of a lawyer is an important decision that should not be based solely upon advertisements, and that the information you obtain today in this episode is general in nature, and that it may not apply to specific factual or legal circumstance. Therefore, if you need legal advice, you should definitely consult an attorney who's licensed to practice law in your jurisdiction. All right, so all of that said, let's get to the topic today. Again, the topic is Kansas court ruling, sperm donor ordered to pay child support. Is a follow-up to today's episode. You can go to our webpage, www.stangelawfirm.com, click the Articles tab, and you'll see this article right on our webpage. We posted this article on January 24th, 2014. And again, this has been a big topic throughout the news, which is why I ultimately decided to do the episode today on the topic, because obviously people find it interesting. It's got a lot of press, and it's definitely hit a button with a lot of folks out there where they're really interested in the decision and the potential ramifications of it. So let's talk about that. Again, this case is out of Kansas. It's not a Missouri case. It's not an Illinois case where we have offices. It's in Kansas. And here's the basic facts. Apparently, a lesbian couple puts an ad up on Craigslist, and what they're looking for is a sperm donor so they can have a child. And so they put that ad up on Craigslist, and then this individual named William Marotta apparently responds to the Craigslist ad. He delivers 3 cupfuls of his sperm for free to these women. They then use this sperm, and one of the ladies is artificially inseminated, and it works, and so she becomes pregnant. And again, I'm just going off of what's reported in the press. I'm not privy to the court file, so there might be more in the court file. And as I always say, look, you can rely on a lot of what you read in the press, but sometimes they don't have 100% rights. So all of that said, I'm going off what's in the press, and we'll just kind of roll with that and assume they've got it mostly right. But again, there could be little nuances that maybe weren't reported. But if you at least read these stories, what they say, again, is this guy responds to a Craigslist ad. He gives these 2 ladies his donation. He does it for free. He didn't charge any money for it. And then one of the ladies becomes pregnant with this sperm donation that he made. Down the line, one of the women gave birth to a daughter, and then apparently these two ladies separate, and they're no longer together. And then one of them stops working due to an illness and applies to the state for help, right? So they apply to the state for some sort of state benefits in order to presumably help support this child that was born from the sperm donation. And then at that point, that's when the Kansas Department for Children and Families step forward, and they want to know who the dad is of this child. If they're going to have to be paying state aid to this child, they're looking for recoupment from the dad, and that's where ultimately then they go after the gentleman that gave the sperm donation off of Craigslist, William Marotta. They want him to pay child support. His position is, look, apparently he signed some kind of documents waiving his parental rights, and again, it was donated sperm. The idea was not that he was going to be a father to this child. Again, he was making a donation to these two lesbian women who wanted to have a child, and he shouldn't have to pay child support. And so that's how this case arises. That's kind of the basic fact pattern of it. And then apparently this case is litigated for some time. And like I said, it gets a lot of press. It gets a lot of attention. Well, if you read the story, apparently the judge handling this case in Kansas ultimately decides that this gentleman who donated the sperm is one, the dad, and two, he's got to pay child support for this child. And of course, this gentleman, the sperm donor, he's not pleased about this, and that's how the story kind of hits the press, apparently. And I think the story references that it was his desire that this story hit the press because, from his vantage point, this is an injustice. And so I think from there, you get into a lot of moral and kind of ethical views on how a court should come down with a ruling on an issue like this. And what the Kansas courts did is literally they took a strict interpretation of the Kansas statute, and what the Kansas statute on artificial insemination basically says is that and I'm just reading right from the law itself. It's apparently section 23/2208 of the Kansas statutes, and one of the subsections says the donor of semen provided to a licensed physician for use in artificial insemination of a woman other than the donor's wife is treated in law as if he were not the birth father of a child, therefore conceived unless he agreed in writing by the donor and the woman. So in other words, what the statute specifically references is that the donation has to be made to a licensed physician, and where this guy went wrong is he responds to a Craigslist ad versus giving the donation to a licensed physician to do this. He just gives it to these two women directly, these three cupfuls. And so what the Kansas courts appear to say, again, this is what I'm reading in the press at least, is that, well, look, we in essence have no way of knowing whether you actually did what you said, which is donated the sperm to these women directly, or whether maybe you had some sort of sexual relations with the mother of this child and are now trying to say that you made this donation to get out of child support, which is kind of the check with the doctor involved. So if somebody donates sperm to a doctor and the artificial insemination is done by the doctor, then in that vein, there's confirmation that this was donated sperm, and we know what everybody's intentions are. And so the Kansas courts, again, in this case, this particular judge took a very strict interpretation of the statute and simply said, look, donation's got to be to a licensed physician. That's not what happened here, so you are the dad and you've got to pay child support. So, I mean, that's kind of the crux of it. And like I said, this case has gotten a lot of attention. It's been all over the press, but practically speaking, you know, you can take a strict interpretation of the statute, or you can just kind of argue from sort of an apparent justice or fairness argument. But if you take a strict interpretation of the statute, it's hard to take huge issue with what the judge did, because the case itself says the donation has to be made to a licensed physician. From just reading the Kansas statute, and Kansas is a state, by the way, that I'm licensed to practice law in, and so, you know, you look at that statute, and I think you take a pretty strict interpretation of it, it makes sense. And so, you know, from there, one of the things I did is I looked at Missouri and Illinois, which is where we have offices, and coincidentally, the statutes in both states pretty much mirror the statute in Kansas, which is, you know, donor of sperm has to do it through a licensed physician. Otherwise, they can be treated as the dad. And so the Missouri statute 210-824 has similar language in it. And then if you go over to the Illinois statute 750 ILCS 40, it references, again, the donation being made to a licensed physician. So, look, practically speaking, a ruling in Kansas by a judge doesn't necessarily indicate what a Missouri judge would do or what an Illinois judge would do. But on the other hand, in Kansas, a strict interpretation was taken of the statute, and it's fair to conclude that a judge in Missouri or in Illinois could very well do the same thing, which is take a strict interpretation of the statute and then rule in a similar case that, look, if you donate sperm directly to an individual and you don't do it through a licensed physician, that you could very well be on the hook for child support. Maybe that wouldn't be the case in Missouri and Illinois. Maybe a judge in Missouri or Illinois would look at this differently and come to a different ruling. But I think it's pretty fair to conclude at the same time that the statutes in Missouri and Illinois have this requirement. And to the folks out there, I'd just say a couple of things, which is, again, judges can do different things in different cases, and this Kansas decision isn't necessarily indicative of what somebody in Missouri or Illinois would do. But at the same time, for individuals that are interested in artificial insemination, on either end, so individuals who donate sperm to individuals, and then on the flip end, to folks out there who are looking to get pregnant through artificial insemination, if you just look at the statute in Missouri and in Illinois and in Kansas, it appears that the safest path is, if you're going to do artificial insemination, do it through a licensed physician. If you do it off Craigslist, or you do it through some newspaper ad, or you do it through somebody the practical reality is it could turn out to be a big problem. And that's what this case really shows, and that's what this case really intimates. A lot of folks appear to be taking kind of a broader interpretation of the case, and they're taking this kind of a step further with kind of moral and ethical type arguments. But practically speaking, the statutes say what they say, and while it is expensive to do artificial insemination through a licensed physician, if you want it to be airtight, if you want the arrangement to be one in which there isn't going to be the type of issue that arose in this case, it just appears pretty obvious that artificial insemination ought to be done through a licensed physician, and anything less than that is pretty darn risky if you read this Kansas case and if you just simply look at the statutes in Kansas and Missouri and Illinois. So definitely an interesting topic. Like I said, definitely one that's got a lot of media and a lot of press attention. But if you kind of break the case down and you look at the facts and you look at the law, it's pretty easy to conclude that the reasoning of the judge in the case makes sense if you're taking a strict interpretation of the statute. And that's what it appears that the judges did in this case, which is donation wasn't made to a licensed physician, therefore sperm donor's dad, and he can pay child support. So again, really interesting article, really interesting topic. I wanted to take a few minutes to cover it today since it's got so much press attention. And again, as a follow-up to the episode to today, you can go to our webpage, www.stangelawfirm.com, and you can check out the article which was posted on January 24th, 2014, titled Kansas Court Ruling, Sperm Donor Ordered to Pay Child Support. Definitely an interesting topic. Hopefully today's episode's been interesting for all of you, and that hopefully I've been able to break it down in a way that makes sense to the listeners out there. So thanks again for tuning in. That concludes today's exciting episode on Family Law Talk with Stange Law Firm. We'll see you next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to Family Law Talk with Kirk Stange. Visit StangeLawFirm.com for more about today's topic, or to put Stange Law Firm to work for your family today.
Discover, this is Daniela.
Hi, it's Jennifer Coolidge. I just want to thank you for making me feel so special. I earned cash back on debit for my dinner party groceries.
That's great, but with Discover Cashback Debit, we give everyone cash back on everyday purchases. Anything else I can help you with?
Do you like asparagus and mushroom sorbet? I've got leftovers.
Introducing Discover Cashback Debit, a checking account with cash back. It pays to Discover. Eligibility and terms at discover.com/cashbackdebit. Discover Bank, member FDIC.
Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, oh, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.